All right, happy Saturday. It's March 22nd. It's the afternoon. Quick note about the technical stuff before I get into the actual thing that I care about. Um, so I don't want to get a controller, or I don't want to get rid of my controller mic. I don't want to get a real microphone. I'm gonna go to great lengths to not get a real microphone. That's the goal. In To that end, right? I have I have a little platform here that I've rested the controller mic on. It's right here. You see, here's the controller mic. It's right here, and hopefully the audio is going to come through better. It's like 5 inches away from my face, and I think the PS5 mics are pretty good. So I'm optimistic this audio will continue to get better. All right, onto the real meat of the update. So this last week has been kind of a stagnant week for the weight loss. A little unfortunate, but it happens. Last weekend was kind of a weekend of celebration and a little bit of extra drinking, a little bit of extra eating. And what the real takeaway is that there are no such thing as cheat days. Because if you do a cheat day, you'll basically spend the next week or two getting your calories down. So what I did was I drank a lot, and I didn't drink that much, but I more than I should have. Had a lot of Guinness, and I ate more than I should have as a result. And to try to compensate for this increased calorie intake over last weekend, I really went hard on my deficit on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. I think my mood was pretty crappy for the earlier part of the week, and I think that my negative mood continued into the later week, so even through Thursday, Friday. And honestly, it's just really not worth it. It's better to just stay consistent the whole time. So no more, yeah, no more drinking. I kind of stopped doing that since I started the weight loss stuff. I was never really a big drinker in the first place, and it's not really something that I want to do in general. It's just kind of getting in the way of my goals. And I really think that just eating less at a real big deficit is to compensate is just not. It just has too much of a negative impact on your mood and motivation and how you're doing at the gym and the rest of your life. So I just don't want to do it. I just don't recommend it. It was probably okay to at least make somewhat progress on my weight loss. At least I stagnated. I'll put up the weight loss chart here. It's like bam, we got the weight loss chart. You can see that this last week has been a little stagnated. And just real quick on the weight loss chart, it's not the y-axis, or I'm sorry, the x-axis, so like the time axis, it's not normalized at all. The time interval that I started weighing myself in the beginning was not very consistent, as I mentioned last video. So going forward, we're going to have a little bit more consistency on that. It's going to be twice a week. It's going to be Wednesday and then either Saturday or Sunday. I figure it doesn't really matter. Right now, I'm probably shooting for Saturday mornings because I like recording these sometime on Saturday as I have free time. So yeah, we'll get a little bit more consistency on that. The trend line will actually make more sense. I kind of expect, though, even on weeks that I eat well, I kind of expect that there will just be, weeks of stagnation anyway, just due to fluctuations in water weight and hormones and, whatever. Maybe your body's processing, some kind of food that you're eating that week differently. But I'm pretty optimistic that it'll be consistent as I continue to, keep up my diet. I didn't really manage to get to my one rep max deadlift this week. I have this really weird feeling in my abdomen that's kind of like traveling around, and I think it's just like a weird form of DOMS or something. Um, and it's like, I don't know, it's just like weird ab soreness. At some point, I had a really, for like 5 minutes, I was like really paranoid. I gave myself a hernia. But I think that that's crazy. There's absolutely no way that I gave myself a hernia and I didn't know it. I just didn't do it. I think it's fine. Yeah, so pretty short update this week. Not really much else. I actually did have kind of a fun update about. I had a body percentage scale that my dad got. Shout out, mom and dad. Thanks for watching. And I was going to talk about kind of the body composition, and I actually have some measurements around that. But I started doing a little bit of research in the numbers that the scale put out, and they don't really make sense just based on really surface level research on what kind of the expected ranges for people my age and my height. So I'm going to hold off on that for a week and then just talk about it next week and get a better handle on the numbers. But the only number that I think that I can really talk about that kind of makes a lot of sense to me is the fat percentage output. So it gave me a 26% body weight composition for my fat. I think this puts me firmly in the overweight territory, which is not unexpected. But I do feel like I'm looking a lot better, especially as I started kind of being more serious about my lifting the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you can tell. Look at all this. I don't know if you can tell. Uh, my goal actually was I lifted this morning, and I was really trying to get a bicep pump and like a shoulder pump and like a chest pump to make this video to try to look bigger. But I don't think it worked because it's just been too long. It's like 4 p.m. I'm recording this, and I worked out like 6 hours ago now. So maybe another day. So short update. You know, week's been kind of middling. Next week will be better. Expect more content.